Good morning. Welcome to day 41 as we go through the Bible in 102 days. This is pretty cool. We've got a good reading ahead of us today. We'll be in Job the whole time today, but I do have a confession to make. Yesterday, I actually read an extra chapter. So yesterday I actually read including chapter 25, and we were supposed to stop after having finished at chapter 24. So we are starting at Job 26, which isn't that big of a deal, but it does start with Job replying to which one of his friends is he replying to Bildad, and because we read Bildad's thing, his comments yesterday. So that's my confession for the morning. I realized after the fact, after the stream ended, I was like, oh, that was an extra little bonus chapter yesterday. But today we will be starting at Job 26, reading to Job 41. So it'll be a good reading. We'll be in Job the whole time, like I said. The reading schedule that I'm doing when I'm reading, if you're curious, it is from Monday to Friday from 7 a.m. to about 8:30 a.m. and then Saturdays at 10 a.m. so that I can read with someone else accompanying me, which is really interesting, really fun. This is the total chapter count that we've done so far, 491 chapters of the Bible, which is pretty cool. So about 39, just under 39%. Then if you're curious about the plan itself, where we are and what there is still to come and like how the days are broken up, this is it right here. So you'll see I left a little note here because I overread, but that's okay. Then you'll see there's the whole breakdown of the whole thing if you want to see that and just kind of be aware of what's coming up on what days. It's all there. All these links are in the description, by the way. Same with this link with the breakdown of each chapter and how it amounts to the total chapters of the Bible. It's actually the same document that has the colors or the highlights for you if you want to highlight this right here. There you go. It's actually pretty hard to see, but I've added a third color. I'll try to put it on the webcam here to see if it's more visible. There you go. There's yellow for the wisdom literature / prophetic, or not prophetic, but the poetic books. The prophetic books will be after the yellow. So that's that. That's fun. It's fun to follow along with that and to just kind of like highlight the chapters that we've read and see kind of a visual representation, a visual of how far we've come so far and what there's still ahead of us. Then if you have any observations that you make, like while we're reading today, while we're going through today's text, like if you notice anything on any given chapter, there is a document where you can add your observations. It's the collaborative notes document. It's right below in the description, and you can just go to whatever chapter we're at, and from there, just add your notes, add your observations. Like yesterday, someone wrote, wow, the way Job praises God and finds peace in him, even while believing God was the one bringing trials on him, is insane. But Job's hope wasn't in the things of this world, but in the things eternal. It's in the reality that his Redeemer lives. And that's pretty cool. So again, yeah, if you notice anything at any point, whether you're watching this live, whether you're watching this after the fact, it'd be really cool to see what you're noticing in the text. And if you have any comments, like anything you want to share, you can also put it in the comment section, whether live, whether after the fact. So that's that. Which, yeah. Speaking of, good morning. And then let's get into the reading. But before we do, These scriptures quoted are from the NET Bible, https://netbible.com, copyright 1996-2019, used with permission from Biblical Studies Press, LLC, all rights reserved. Let's pray. Let's get into it. Dear Lord, we thank you, God Almighty, that you live. Thank you that you are alive, Jesus. You are our Redeemer, and you won the great victory over the impossible enemy of our lives. You won the enemy over sin and the grave. And Lord, we get to not only relish in your victory and rejoice in your victory, but we get to benefit from it. And I thank you for this incredible grace that is extended to us, Lord. I pray for this morning as we read, God, that we would be aware and understanding and noticing the things that we are to notice in your word, that our attention would be brought to you and to recognize what we need to recognize today. I pray in your name, Jesus. Amen. All right, here we go. Chapter 26. Then Job replied, "How you have helped the powerless, how you have saved the person who has no strength, how you have advised the one without wisdom and abundantly revealed your insight. To whom did you utter these words, and whose spirit has come forth from your mouth? The dead tremble, those beneath the waters, and all that live in them. The underworld is naked before God. The place of destruction lies uncovered. He spreads out the northern skies over empty space. He suspends the earth on nothing. He locks the waters in the clouds, and the clouds do not burst with the weight of them. He conceals the face of the full moon, shrouding it with his clouds. He marks out the horizon on the surface of the waters as a boundary between light and darkness. The pillars of the heavens tremble and are amazed at his rebuke. By his power, he stills the sea. By his wisdom, he cut Rahab, the great sea monster, to pieces. By his breath, the skies became fair. His hand pierced the fleeing serpent. Indeed, these are but the outer fringes of his ways. How faint is the whisper we hear of him, but who can understand the thunder of his power?" That's interesting. That's interesting because of like the response that he will hear later on in the book. We will get to today. Okay. All right. So Job replies, seemingly sarcastic to his friend who is being unhelpful. Job declares some of the intricacies of how God works in creation. Okay. And his great power revealed through it. Okay. I think that's good. Job chapter 27. And Job took up his discourse again. "As surely as God lives, who has denied me justice, the Almighty, who has made my life bitter? For while my spirit is still in me, and the breath from God is in my nostrils, my lips will not speak wickedness. And my tongue will whisper no deceit. I will never declare that you three are in the right until I die. I will not set aside my integrity. I will maintain my righteousness and never let it go. My conscience will not reproach me for as long as I live. May my enemy be like the wicked, my adversary like the unrighteous. For what hope does the godless have when he is cut off, when God takes away his life? Does God listen to his cry when distress overtakes him? Will he find delight in the Almighty? Will he call out to God at all times? I will teach you about the power of God. What is on the Almighty's mind, I will not conceal. If you yourselves have all seen this, why in the world do you continue this meaningless talk? This is a portion of the wicked man allotted by God, the inheritance of evildoers receive from the Almighty. If his children increase, it is for the sword. His offspring never have enough to eat. Those who survive him are buried by the plague, and their widows do not mourn for them. If he piles up silver like dust and stores up clothing like mounds of clay, what he stores up a righteous man will wear, and an innocent man will inherit his silver. The house he builds is as fragile as a moth's cocoon, like a hut that a watchman has made. He goes to bed wealthy, but will do so no more. When he opens his eyes, it is all gone. Terrors overwhelm him like a flood, and night and a whirlwind carries him off. The east wind carries him away, and he is gone. It sweeps out of his place. It hurls itself against him without pity. As he flees headlong from its power, it claps its hands at him in derision and hisses him away from his place. Okay. So, this is an interesting response. Yeah. Okay. Job insists that he is innocent and will remain innocent, and values his integrity and living righteously. And then there's will he fight? Okay. Says that the wicked will not find delight in the Lord, and that ultimately the wicked will see calamity. It's interesting because, yeah, I mean, some of this sounds somewhat like what some of his friends were saying, but also not, also with a much healthier perspective on things. All right, let's, oops, sorry. I saw a comment come in here. It says, I didn't realize there was a sea monster they called Rahab. That might be just a difference in translation. I wonder if it is the like when we came across it, I wonder if it is the Leviathan that they renamed Rahab. Sorry, not Ahab. Ahab was the bad king. Let's see. I can check because you can check here with the Net Bible. What's neat is you can go to different passages and you can see what an alternate translation could have been. And what chapter was that? Was that 20? No, not 25. 26. Wait. Job 26. And then say Rahab. Okay. The Hebrew term Rahab, the mythical sea monster that represents the forces of chaos in the ancient Near Eastern literature. In the translations, the words "the great sea monster" have been supplied appositionally in order to clarify Rahab. Here again are possible mythological allusions or polemics. The god Yam or sea was important in Ugaritic as as a god of chaos, and Rahab is another name for the monster of the deep. Okay. See Job 9:13. Rahab, there it is again. Interesting. So I'm guessing that is the same monster of the deep, just a different name. But yeah, anyways, let's read chapter 28 now. No known road to wisdom. Surely there is a mine for silver, and a place where gold is refined. Iron is taken from the ground, and rock is poured out as copper. Man puts an end to the darkness. He searches the farthest recesses for the one in the deepest darkness. Far from where people live, he sinks a shaft. In places travelers have long forgotten, far from other people, he dangles and sways. The earth from which food comes is overturned below, as though by fire. A place whose stones are sapphires, and that contains dust of gold. A hidden path no bird of prey knows, no falcon's eye has spotted. Proud beasts have not set foot on it, and no lion has passed along it. On the flinty rock, man has set to work with his hand. He has overturned mountains at their bases. He has cut out channels through the rocks. His eyes have spotted every precious thing. He has searched the sources of the rivers, and what was hidden he has brought into the light. But wisdom, where can it be found? Where is the place of understanding? Mankind does not know its place. It cannot be found in the land of the living. The deep says, "It is not with me," and the sea says, "It is not with me." Fine gold cannot be given in exchange for it, nor can its price be weighed out in silver. It cannot be measured out for purchase with the gold of Ophir, with precious onyx or sapphire. Neither gold nor crystal can be compared with it, nor can a vase of gold match its worth. Of coral and jasper no mention will be made. The price of wisdom is more than pearls. The topaz of Cush cannot be compared with it. It cannot be purchased with pure gold. But wisdom, where does it come from? Where is the place of understanding? For it has been hidden from the eyes of every living creature, and from the birds of the sky it has been concealed. Destruction and death say, "With our ears we have heard a rumor about where it can be found." God understands the way to it, and he alone knows its place. For he looks to the ends of the earth and observes everything under the heavens. When he made the force of the wind and measured the waters with a gauge, when he imposed a limit for the rain and a path for the thunderstorm, when he looked at wisdom and assessed its value, he established it and examined it closely. And he said to mankind, "The fear of the Lord, that is wisdom, and to turn away from evil is understanding." That's cool. It's a wise search for wisdom. All right. Job says how people have been able to explore different places and extract natural resources, but wisdom is not like a resource that you can simply find the source of in the ground or in the sea and extract it as a natural resource. Asks, where can wisdom be found? And knows that God knows the path to it. And then, the fear of the Lord, that is wisdom. To turn away from evil is understanding. God has said to mankind that the fear of the Lord is wisdom, and to turn away from evil is understanding. Okay. And turning away from evil is understanding. Pretty cool. This phrase here, the fear of the Lord, that is wisdom. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of the wisdom. Like it's a phrase that is repeated several times that we will see again a number more times in the wisdom literature that we're going through. So that's it's a cool phrase. It's a really neat, really insightful phrase, and it's repeated, like I said, a number of times, which means it's just important and worth noticing. Job 29, Job recalls his former condition. Then Job continued his speech. Oh, that I could be as I was in the months now gone. In the days when God watched over me, when he caused his lamp to shine upon my head, and by his light I walked through darkness, just as I was in my most productive time, when God's intimate friendship was experienced in my tent, when the Almighty was still with me and my children were around me, when my steps were bathed with butter and the rock poured out for me streams of olive oil, when I went out to the city gate and secured my seat in the public square, the young men would see me and step aside, and the old men would get up and remain standing. The chief men refrained from talking and covered their mouths with their hands. The voices of the nobles fell silent, and their tongues stuck to the roof of their mouths. As soon as the ear heard these things, it blessed me. And when the eye saw them, it bore witness to me. I rescued the poor who cried out for help, and the orphan who had no one to assist him. The blessing of the dying man descended on me, and I made the widow's heart rejoice. I put on righteousness, and it clothed me. My just dealing was like a robe and a turban. I was eyes for the blind and feet for the lame. I was a father for the needy, and I investigated the case of the person I did not know. I broke the fangs of the wicked and made him drop his prey from his teeth. Then I thought, I will die in my own home, my days as numerous as the grains of sand. My roots reach the water, and the dew lies on the branches all night long. My glory will always be fresh in me, and my bow ever new in my hand. People listened to me and waited silently. They kept silent for my advice. After I had spoken, they did not respond. My words fell on them drop by drop. They waited for me as people wait for the rain, and they opened their mouths as for the spring rains. If I smiled at them, they hardly believed it, and they did not cause the light of my face to darken. I chose the way for them and sat as their chief. I lived like a king among his troops. I was like one who comforts mourners. Job longs for the former days when things went well with him. There's it's interesting how he also reflects on when God's intimate friendship was experienced in my tent. Talks about when God's intimate friendship was experienced in his tent. I don't know. I found that phrase really striking, really interesting because of all the ways that he's been going on and on about feeling abandoned and struck by the Lord and wanting to take his plea and his case to God directly, but feeling like it's, useless. And how, God has abandoned him. It's neat that one of the things that he really reflects on missing is just that closeness, that closeness of relationship with God. But yeah, I'll take a couple more notes though. Job shares how charitable and kind and loving and caring he was to those in need. The people of the city held him in great honor and listened to what he said and held his words in high esteem. Yeah, it's interesting. He's like lived like a king among his troops. I was like one who comforts mourners. Before I read Job 30, there's a comment here. It says, "The fear of the Lord is wisdom, and turning away from evil is understanding." Love this. Yeah, it's a very, very good verse. Excellent verse to think about, meditate on. And the Bible gives us several opportunities to do that, which is awesome. Because that, like I said, that phrase comes up a few times. It'll come up in, yeah. Anyways, I'll leave it at that. We will see it some more. So it's not the end of that phrase coming up, which is really cool because it is a very, very profound statement. All right, Job chapter 30. "But now they mock me, those who are younger than I, whose fathers I disdain too much, to put with my sheepdogs. Moreover, the strength of their hands, what use was it to me? Those whose strength had perished, gaunt with want and hunger, they would roam the parched land, by night a desolate waste. By the brush, they would gather herbs from the salt marshes, and the root of the broom tree was their fruit. They were banished from the community. People shouted at them as they would shout at thieves, so that they had to live in the dry stream beds, in the holes of the ground, and among the rocks. They brayed like animals among the bushes, and were huddled together under the nettles. Sons of senseless and nameless people, they were driven out of the land with whips. And now I have become their taunt song. I have become a byword among them. They detest me and maintain their distance. They do not hesitate to spit in my face, because God has united my tent cord or untied my tent cord and afflicted me. People throw off all restraint in my presence. Oh, my right, the young rabble rise up. They drive me from place to place and build up siege ramps against me. They destroy my path and succeed in destroying me without anyone assisting them. They come in as though a wide breach. Amid the crash, they come rolling in. Terrors are turned loose on me. They drive away my horror like the wind, and as a cloud, my deliverance has passed away. And now my soul pours itself out within me. Days of suffering take hold of me. Night pierces my bones. My gnawing pains never cease. With great power, God grasps my clothing. He binds me like the collar of my tunic. He has flung me into the mud, and I have come to resemble dust and ashes. I cry out to you, but you do not answer me. I stand up, and you only look at me. You have become cruel to me. With the strength of your hand, you attack me. You pick me up on the wind and make me ride on it. You toss me about in the storm. I know that you are bringing me to death, to the meeting place for all the living. Surely one does not stretch out his hand against a broken man when he cries for help in his distress. Have I not wept for the unfortunate? Was not my soul grieved for the poor? But when I hoped for good, trouble came. When I expected light, then darkness came. My heart is in turmoil unceasingly. The days of my affliction confront me. I go about blackened, but not by the sun. In the assembly, I stand up and cry for help. I have become a brother to jackals, and a and a companion of ostriches. My skin has turned dark on me. My body is hot with fever. My harp is used for mourning, and my flute for the sound of weeping. Man. Job, he is going through it for real. Okay. Job shares how some evil men were removed from the city, and now those evil men mock him. He feels like God has completely turned against him. All right. Job 31. Hey, good morning. All right. Chapter 31. I made a covenant with my eyes. How then could I entertain thoughts against a virgin? What then could be one's lot from God above, one's heritage from the Almighty on high? Is it not misfortune for the unjust and disaster for those who work iniquity? Does he not see my ways and count all my steps? If I have walked in falsehood, and if my foot has hastened to deceit, let him weigh me with honest scales. Then God will discover my integrity. If my footsteps have strayed from the way, if my heart has gone after my eyes, or if anything has defiled my hands, then let me sow, and let another eat, and let my crops be uprooted. If my heart has been enticed by a woman, and I have lain in wait at my neighbor's door, then let my wife turn the millstone for another man, and may other men commit adultery with her, for I would have committed a shameful act, an iniquity to be judged. For it is a fire. For it is a fire that devours even to destruction, and it would uproot all my harvest. If I have disregarded the right of my male servants or my female servants when they disputed with me, then what will I do when God confronts me in judgment? When he intervenes, how will I respond to him? Did not the one who made me in the womb make them? Did not the same one form us in the womb? If I have refused to give the poor what they desired, or caused the eyes of the widow to fail, if I ate my morsel of bread myself, and did not share any of it with orphans, but from my youth I raised the orphan like a father, and from my mother's womb I guided the widow. If I have seen anyone about to perish for lack of clothing, or a poor man without a coat, whose heart did not bless me, as he warmed himself with the fleece of my sheep. If I have raised my hand to vote against the orphan, when I saw my support in the court, then let my arm fall from the shoulder. Let my arm be broken off at the socket. For the calamity from God was a terror to me, and by reason of his majesty I was powerless. If I have put my confidence in gold, or said to pure gold, you are my security, if I have rejoiced because of the extent of my wealth, or because of the great wealth my hand has gained, if I looked at the sun when it was shining, and the moon advancing as a precious thing, so that my heart was secretly enticed, and my hand threw them a kiss from my mouth, then this also would be iniquity to be judged. For I would have been false to God above if I have rejoiced over the misfortune of my enemy, or exulted because of calamity found him. I have not even permitted my mouth to sin by asking for his life through a curse. If the members of my household have never said, if only there were someone who has not been satisfied from Job's meat, But no stranger had to spend the night outside, for I opened my doors to the traveler. If I have covered my transgressions as men do by hiding iniquity in my heart, because I was terrified at the great multitude, and the contempt of families terrified me, so that I remained silent and would not go outdoors. If only I had someone to hear me. Here is my signature. Let the Almighty answer me. If only I had an indictment that my accuser had written, surely I would wear it proudly on my shoulder. I would bind it on me like a crown. I would give him an accounting of my steps. Like a prince, I would draw near to him. If my land cried out against me, and all its furrows wept together, if I have eaten its produce without paying, or caused the death of its owners, then let thorns sprout up in place of wheat, and in place of barley, noxious weeds. The words of Job are ended. Okay. All right, Job. Man. Job reflects on how he has been upright and righteous and committed to it, committed to not sin against his wife, against God, not disregard those in need, but actually care for them, not worship heavenly bodies. Reflects on how he has been living in a righteous way. Yeah, man, just longs for God to answer him so that he can take his plea to God and have God weigh his deeds. Okay. This is the end of Job's words. He went on quite the rant there. But here we go. Okay. This is so far we've seen the 3 other friends give their speeches, and they've been talking in turn, and it's been like one goes, then Job goes, then another one goes, then Job goes, then the third one goes, then Job goes, and then that cycle repeats. But there's the 4th friend who's been kind of just hanging out, and and this is Elihu. Wait, no. Yes. He's also angry. Okay, yeah, this is him. He's just kind of like been hanging out. He's been there listening and hasn't said anything yet, and he's about to open the floodgates of his speech and the things that he's been wanting to say for a while but hasn't shared them yet. So yeah, buckle up for Elihu. Here we go. So these 3 men refused to answer Job further because he was righteous in his own eyes. When Elihu, son of Barachel, the Buzite of the family of Ram, then he became very angry. He was angry with Job for justifying himself rather than God. With Job's 3 friends, he was also angry because they could not find an answer, and so declared Job guilty. Now Elihu had waited before speaking to Job because the others were older than he was. But when Elihu saw that the 3 men had no further reply, he became very angry. Oops. There you go. Sorry about that. So Elihu, son of Barachel, the Buzite, spoke up. I am young, but you are elderly. That is why I was fearful and afraid to explain to you what I know. I said to myself, age should speak, and length of years should make wisdom known. But it is a spirit in people, and the breath of the Almighty that makes them understand. It is not the aged who are wise, nor old men who understand what is right. Therefore I say, listen to me. Even I will explain what I know. Look, I waited for you to speak. I listened closely to your wise thoughts while you were searching for words. Now I was paying you close attention, yet there was no one proving Job wrong. Not one of you was answering his statements. So do not say, we have found wisdom. God will refute him, not man. Job has not directed his words to me, so I will not reply to him with your arguments. They are dismayed and cannot answer any more. They have nothing left to say, and I have waited, but because they do not speak, because they stand there and answer no more, I too will answer my part. I too will explain what I know, for I am full of words, and the spirit within me constrains me. Inside, I am like wine that has no outlet, like new wineskins ready to burst. I will speak so that I may find relief. I will open my lips so that I may answer. I will not show partiality to any person, nor will I confer a title on anyone, for I do not know how to give honorary titles. If I did, my Creator would quickly do away with me. All right, so Elihu is clearly frustrated here, which is, I mean, it's fair. Like, as we've been reading, it's been annoying and understandably frustrating for Job to be going through this. And then anytime Job says something, like, his friends just kind of go back into his alleged friends, I'll say, go right back into accusing him of things. And they don't actually address the things he says. They just kind of like, it's like they're like, while he's talking, they're like, I don't know, thinking of what they're going to next accuse him of. And Elihu is understandably upset about it, but he's also upset at Job, so it's going to get interesting. Finally speaks up. He had waited to share because he was younger and thought that what the friends would share would be wise. But now he is frustrated because they were not being wise and they were never answering Job. So now he will speak. He's also upset at Job. Okay. All right. What a crazy scene. Like, again, like, think of like what is happening in this scene. Job has lost everything, absolutely everything. Like he lost all his tons and tons of like livestock and servants and his kids, and they've all died. And then he like tore his clothes, fell to the ground, and then says like, the Lord gives, the Lord takes away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Then he is afflicted himself with like boils, and like his body is basically rotting, and then he just kind of like sits in the dust for a while, and his four friends come by to see him, and they sit with him, and it's all like silence for 7 days. And then after that silence, then they bring this absolute onslaught of accusations against him, and they are not listening to anything he's saying. And he's saying he just wants to talk to God about his case. He wants to take his case to God, but he feels like God is not caring about him, and he feels like God is afflicting him, and he's like, um, yeah, really, really frustrated. And like it's going on like over and over and over again. And the accusations against him go from being like kind of implied to being like highly specific of like, hey, you took clothes from naked people and you didn't give like water to drink to people who were in need to survive, and like all these things. And so like Job finally like in his like previous response that we just read a couple chapters ago, like he was saying like, no, I have done those things and I've done even more. Like he's saying how good he was as a man, how beneficial he was to those around him, how much he blessed those around him, and how much he cared for those around him. And so then after Job finally has like this bigger rant, then yeah, exactly. Job got sick. He got really sick. And then like after this bigger rant, then finally Elihu speaks up and he's just upset at everyone. So let's read what Elihu has to say here. But now, O Job, listen to my words and hear everything I have to say. See now, I have opened my mouth. My tongue is in my tongue in my mouth has spoken. My words come from the uprightness of my heart, and my lips will utter knowledge sincerely. The Spirit of God has made me, and the breath of the Almighty gives me life. Reply to me, if you can. Set your arguments in order before me, and take your stand. Look, I am just like you in relation to God. I too have been molded from clay. Therefore, no fear of me should terrify you, nor should my pressure be heavy on you. Indeed, you have said in my hearing, I heard the sound of the words, I am pure without transgression. I am clean and have no iniquity. Yet God finds occasions with me. He regards me as his enemy. He puts my feet in shackles. He watches closely all my paths. Now, in this, you are not right. I answer you, for God is greater than a human being. Why do you contend against him, that he does not answer all a person's words? For God speaks the first time in one way, the second time in another, though a person does not perceive it. In a dream, a night vision, when deep sleep falls on people as they sleep in their beds, then he gives a revelation to people and terrifies them with warnings to turn a person from his sin and to cover a person's pride. He spares a person's life from corruption, his very life from crossing over the river. Or a person is chastened by pain to his bed, and with the continual strife of his bones, so that his life loathes food, and his soul rejects appetizing fare. His flesh wastes away from sight, and his bones, which were not seen, are easily visible. He draws near to the place of corruption, and his life to the messengers of death. If there is an angel beside him, one mediator out of 1,000, to tell a person that constitutes his uprightness. And if God is gracious to him and says, spare him from going down to the place of corruption, I have found a ransom for him. Then his flesh is restored like a youth's. He returns to the days of his youthful vigor. He entreats God, and God delights in him. He sees God's face with rejoicing, and God restores to him his righteousness. That person sings to others, saying, I have sinned and falsified what is right, but I was not punished according to what I deserved. He redeemed my life from going down to the place of corruption, and my life sees the light. Indeed, God does all these things twice, 3 times in his dealings with a person, to turn back his life from the place of corruption, that he may be enlightened in the light of life. Pay attention, Job. Listen to me. Be silent, and I will speak. If you have any words, reply to me. Speak, for I want to justify you. If not, you listen to me. Be silent, and I will teach you wisdom. Okay. Says that God can speak in all kinds of ways, and that God presents opportunities for people to repent and turn to him. And implies that Job, like anyone else, is not truly, fully innocent before God. Okay, Job 34. Elihu answered, listen to my words, you wise men. Hear me, you learned men, for the ear assesses words, as the mouth tastes food. Let us evaluate for ourselves what is right. Let us come to know among ourselves what is good. For Job says, I am innocent, but God turns away my right. Concerning my right, should I lie? My wound is incurable, although I am without transgression. Who is there like Job? Who drinks derision like water? He goes about in company with evildoers. He goes along with wicked men, for he says it does not profit a man when he makes his delight with God. Therefore listen to me, you men of understanding. Far be it from God to do wickedness, from the Almighty to do evil. For he repays a person for his work, and according to the conduct of a person. He causes the consequences to find him. Indeed, in truth, God does not act wickedly, and the Almighty does not pervert justice. Who entrusted to him the earth, and who put him over the whole world? If God were to set his heart on it, and gather in his spirit and his breath, all flesh would perish together, and human beings would return to dust. If you have understanding, listen to this. Hear what I have to say. Do you really think that one who hates justice can govern? And will you declare guilty the supremely righteous one, who says to a king, worthless man, and to nobles, wicked men? Who shows no partiality to princes, and does not take note of the rich more than the poor, because of all of them are the works of his hands. In a moment they die. In the middle of the night, people are shaken and they pass away. The mighty are removed effortlessly, for his eyes are on the ways of an individual. He observes all a person's steps. There is no darkness and no deep darkness where evildoers can hide themselves, for he does not still consider a person that he should come before God in judgment. He shatters the great without inquiry. That makes more sense. And sets up others in their place. Therefore, he knows their deeds. He overthrows them in the night, and they are crushed. He strikes them for their wickedness in a place where people can see, because they have turned away from following him and have not understood any of his ways, so that they caused the cry of the poor to come before him, so that he hears the cry of the needy. But if God is quiet, who can condemn him? If he hides his face, then who can see him? Yet he is over the individual and the nation alike, so that the godless man should not rule and not lay snares for the people. Has anyone said to God, I have endured chastisement, but I will not act wrongly anymore? Teach me what I cannot see. If I have done evil, I will do so no more? Is it your opinion that God should recompense it? Because you reject this. But you must choose, and not I, so tell us what you know. Men of understanding say to me, any wise man listening to me says that Job speaks without knowledge, and his words are without understanding. But Job will be tested in the end, because his answers are like those of wicked men. For he adds transgression to his sin. In our midst, he claps his hands and multiplies his words against God. Whew. Okay. Elihu, that was a lot. That was a lot of stuff. Okay. Says that God is just and all-powerful. Yeah, I mean, and that Job is a fool for rebelling against God. All right, let's go on to Job chapter 35 now. Elihu's third speech. Then Elihu answered, do you think this is to be just when you say, my right before God? But you say, what will it profit you? What do I gain by not sinning? I will reply to you, and to your friends with you. Gaze at the heavens and see, consider the clouds, which are higher than you. If you sin, how does it affect God? If your transgressions are many, what does it do to him? If you are righteous, what do you give to God? Or what does he receive from your hand? Your wickedness affects only a person like yourself, and your righteousness only other people. People cry out because of the excess of oppression. They cry out for help because of the power of the mighty. But no one says, where is God my creator, who gives songs in the night, who teaches us more than the wild animals on the earth, and makes us wiser than the birds of the sky? Then cry out, but he does not answer, because of the arrogance of the wicked. Surely it is an empty cry. God does not hear it. The Almighty does not take notice of it. How much less then, when you say that you do not perceive him, that the case is before him, and you are waiting for him. And further, when you say that his anger does not punish, and that he does not know transgression. So Job opens his mouth to no purpose. Without knowledge, he multiplies his words. All right. Says that Job speaks foolishly and multiplies his words. All right. Job chapter 36 now. Yeah, we're going to 41 today. So, Elihu's fourth speech. Man, he's really been building all this up to just kind of like throw it all out there. Right or wrong, he's just throwing it out there. Elihu said further, be patient with me a little longer, and I will instruct you. For I still have words to speak on God's behalf. With my knowledge, I will speak comprehensively, and to my Creator, I will ascribe righteousness. For in truth, my words are not false. It is one complete in knowledge, who is with you. Indeed, God is mighty, and he does not despise people. He is mighty and firm in his intent. He does not allow the wicked to live, but he gives justice to the poor. He does not take his eyes off the righteous, but with kings on the throne. He seats the righteous and exalts them forever. But if they are bound in chains and held captive by the cords of affliction, then he reveals to them what they have done and their transgressions, that they were behaving proudly. And he reveals this for correction. and says that they must turn from evil. If they obey and serve him, they live out their days in prosperity and their years in pleasantness. But if they refuse to listen, they pass over the river of death and expire without knowledge. The godless at heart nourish anger. They do not cry out even when he binds them. They die in their youth, and their life ends among the male cultic prostitutes. He delivers the afflicted by their afflictions. He reveals himself to them by their suffering. And surely he drew you from the mouth of distress to a wide place, unrestricted, and to the comfort of your table, filled with rich food. But now you are preoccupied with the judgment due the wicked. Judgment and justice take hold of you. Be careful that no one entices you with riches. Do not let a large bribe turn you aside. Would your wealth sustain you, so that you would not be in distress? Even all your mighty efforts. Do not long for the cover of night to drag people away from their homes. Take heed, do not turn to evil, for because of this you have been tested by affliction. Indeed, God is exalted in his power. Who is a teacher like him? Who has prescribed his ways for him, or said to him, you have done what is wicked? Remember to extol his work, which people have praised in song. All humanity has seen it. People gaze on it from afar. Yes, God is great, beyond our knowledge. The number of his years is unsearchable. He draws up drops of water. They distill the rain into its mist, which the clouds pour down and shower on humankind abundantly. Who can understand the spreading of the clouds, the thunderings of his pavilion? See how he scattered his lightning about him? He has covered the depths of the sea. It is by these that he judges the nations and supplies food in abundance. With his hands he covers the lightning and directs it against its target. His thunder announces the coming storm, the cattle also concerning the storm's approach. Okay. Well, we're all right. How do I summarize this? Some of these chapters are so hard to summarize in Job. Let's see. Talks about God's great power and he delivers, preoccupy the judgment, wicked. Man. Okay. Let's keep going on to Job 37 then. Job chapter 37. At this also my heart pounds and leaps from its place. Listen carefully to the thunder of his mouth. Under the whole heaven he lets it go, even his lightning to the far corners of the earth. After that a voice roars. He thunders with an exalted voice, and he does not hold back his lightning bolts when his voice is heard. God thunders with his voice in marvelous ways. He does great things beyond our understanding. For the snow, he says, for to the snow, he says, fall to the earth. Sorry, I thought that's funny because it just snowed a ton last night after there having been no snow for a little while. Anyways, for to the snow, he says, fall to the earth, and to the torrential rains pour down. He causes everyone to stop working so that all people may know his work. The wild animals go to their lairs, and in their dens they remain. A tempest blows out from its chamber, icy cold from the driving winds. The breath of God produces ice. The breath bread breadth of the waters freeze solid. He loads the clouds with moisture. He scatters his lightning through the clouds. The clouds go round in circles, wheeling about according to his plans, to carry out all that he commands them over the face of the whole inhabited world, whether it is for punishment or for his land or for mercy. He pauses it to find its mark. Pay attention to this, Job. Stand still and consider the wonders God works. For you know how God commands them, how he makes lightning flash in his storm cloud. You know about the balancing of the clouds, that wondrous activity of him who is perfect in knowledge, you whose garments are hot. When the earth is still because of the south wind, will you with him spread out the clouds? Solid as a mirror of molten metal, tell us what we should say to him. We cannot prepare a case because of the darkness. Should he be informed that I want to speak? If a man speaks, surely he will be swallowed up. But now the sun cannot be looked at. It is bright in the skies. After a wind passes and swept the clouds away, from the north he comes in golden splendor. Around God is awesome majesty. As for the Almighty, we cannot attain him. He is great in power, but justice and abundant righteousness he does not oppress. Therefore people fear him, for he does not regard all the wise in heart. All right. This this was this was pretty decent for one of Job's friends. He thunders with an exalted voice. Okay. Talks about God's powerful voice and how God is powerful over creation. All right, here we go. Chapter 38 now. This is where it gets good. This is where it gets good. This is where it gets really like mind-blowing and just kind of way overwhelming as the Lord speaks, which is interesting, actually. Sorry, I just want to check something out here from the notes I took yesterday. Speaks for a third time. Yeah, okay. So it's interesting because these books, they are wisdom literature, but they are also poetry. It's interesting how poetic even the whole layout of it is. Like I find that very, very interesting. Like each of Job's friends spoke 3 times, and Job like answered each of those 3 friends like when they were speaking sequentially. One, then Job answers, then another, then Job answers, then another, then Job answers. Like that took place 3 separate times. Then Elihu speaks up, and he's like the wisest out of the bunch, but still not perfect. But he's the wisest out of the 4 friends who came to see Job, and what he says is arranged in 3 separate speeches as well. And now it's like the Lord's speeches. So you get the speeches from 3 friends, you get the speeches from Job, you get the speeches from Elihu, and now you get from God, which, as you can imagine, is going to be much more humbling than anything anyone else has had. So then the Lord answered Job out of the whirlwind. Who is this who darkens counsel? With words without knowledge, get ready for a difficult task like a man. I will question you, and you will inform me. Where were you when I laid the foundation of the earth? Tell me if you possess understanding. Who set its measurements, if you know? Or who stretched a measuring line across it? On what where were its bases set? Or who laid its cornerstone when the morning stars sang its chorus and all the sons of God shouted for joy? Who shut up the angel, or sorry, who shut up, sorry, I said angels because I was just thinking of angels because that's what it says when it says the sons of God here in this context, it's talking about the angels. Carrying on. Who shut up the sea with doors when it burst forth coming out of the womb, when I made the storm clouds its garment and thick darkness its swaddling band, when I prescribed its limits and set it in place its bolts and doors, when I said, to here you may come and no further. Here your proud waves will be confined. Have you ever in your life commanded the morning? Or made the dawn know its place, that I might seize the corners of the earth and shake the wicked out of it? The earth takes shape like clay under a seal. Its features are dyed like a garment. Then from the wicked the light is withheld, and the arm raised in violence is broken. Have you gone to the springs that fill the sea, or walked about in the recess of the deep? Have the gates of death been revealed to you? Have you seen the gates of deepest darkness? Have you considered the vast expanses of the earth? Tell me if you know it all. In what direction does light reside? And darkness, where is its place? That you take them to their brothers, their borders, and perceive the pathways to their homes. You know, for you were born before them, and the number of your days is great. Have you entered the storehouse of the snow, or seen the armory of the hail, which I reserved for the time of trouble, for the day of war and battle? In what direction is lightning dispersed, or the east winds scattered over the earth? Who carves out a channel for the heavy rains, and a path for the rubble of thunder, to cause it to rain on an uninhabitable land, and a wilderness where there are no human beings, to satisfy a devastated and desolate land, and to cause it to sprout with vegetation? Does the rain have a father? Or who has fathered the drops of the dew? From whose womb does the ice emerge, and the frost from the sky? Who gives birth to it? When the waters become hard like stone, when the surface of the deep is frozen solid, can you tie the bands of the Pleiades, or release the cords of Orion? Can you lead out the constellations in their seasons, or guide the bear with its cubs? Do you know the laws of the heavens, or can you set up their rule over the earth? Can you raise your voice to the clouds so that a flood of water covers you? Can you send out lightning bolts and they go? Will they say to you, here we are? Who has put wisdom in the heart, or has imparted understanding to the mind? Who by wisdom can count the clouds, and who can tip over the water jars of heaven when the dust hardens into a mass, and the clumps of earth stick together? Do you hunt prey for the lioness and satisfy the appetite of the lions when they crouch in their dens, when they wait in ambush in the thicket? Who prepares prey for the raven when its young cry out to God and wander about for lack of food? Whew. Okay. Wow. That's the start of God's replies. God replies and speaks to Job asking Job if he knows the source of all kinds of things in nature, where they start, where they come from, where they originate. Man, no, that was a pretty crazy chapter, pretty crazy speech, and there's more. There's more that's coming that we're about to read, but like really interesting I'm finding because I think as we've been reading the last few days, something that has stood out to me has been how Job has made multiple references to like the world and nature and how different things works, like referencing, you know, God's power, and not just Job, like Elihu said that a few chapters ago and stuff too. And like there's been a lot of references, but now it's like, you know, like people are trying, you know, gaining wisdom from that, but you kind of see the limited scope of human vision and human understanding, how much understanding humans can gather for themselves. And then you see God coming in and just uh like making this insane declaration of like how much more there is that people have no idea about. And it's really, really powerful, really cool. And let's keep reading more of it because this is so good. Are you acquainted with the way the mountain goats give birth? Do you watch as the wild deer give birth to their young? Do you count the months they must fulfill? And do you know the time they give birth? They crouch, they bear their young, they bring forth the offspring they have carried. Their young grow strong and grow up in the open. They go off and do not return to them. Who let the wild donkey go free? Who released the bonds of the donkey? To whom I appointed the arid rift valley for its home, the salt wastes as its dwelling place. It scorns the tumult in the town. It does not hear the shouts of a driver. It ranges the hills as its pastures and searches after every green plant. Is the wild ox willing to be your servant? Will it spend the night at your feeding trough? Can you bind the wild ox to a furrow with its rope? Will it till the valleys, following after you? Will you rely on it because its strength is great? Will you commit your labor to it? Can you count on it to bring in your grain and gather the grain to your threshing floor? The wings of the ostrich flap with joy, but are they the pinions and plumage of a stork? For she leaves her eggs on the ground and lets them be warmed on the soil. She forgets that a foot might crush them, or that a wild animal might trample them. She is harsh with her young, as if they were not hers. Oh, sorry. There you go. She is unconcerned about the uselessness of her labor, for God deprived her of wisdom and did not impart understanding to her. But as soon as she springs up, she laughs at the horse and its rider. Do you give the horse its strength? Do you clothe its neck with a mane? Do you make it leap like a locust? Its proud neighing is terrifying. Its paws the ground in the valley. Exulting mightily, it goes out to meet the weapons. It paused. Oh, yeah, okay. It goes out to meet the weapons. It laughs at fear and is not dismayed. It does not shy away from the sword. On it the quiver rattles. The lance and javelin flash. In excitement and impatience it consumes the ground. It cannot stand still when the trumpet is blown. At the sound of the trumpet it says, "Aha!" And from a distance it catches the scent of battle. The thunderous shouting of commanders and the battle cries. Is it by your understanding that the hawk soars and spreads its wings toward the south? Is it at your command that the eagle soars and builds its nest on high? It lives on a rock and spends the night there on a rocky crag and a fortress. From there, it spots its prey. Its eyes gaze intently from a distance, and its young ones devour the blood. And where the dead carcasses are, there it is. All right. Here we'll say that God continues his speech referencing the intricacies of different animals, mentions how the ostrich has no wisdom. All right, Job chapter 40. Was it? Yeah. Job chapter 40 now says, Then the Lord answered Job, Will the one who contends with the Almighty correct him? Let the person who accuses God give him an answer. Then Job answered the Lord, Indeed, I am completely unworthy. How could I reply to you? I put my hand over my mouth to silence myself. I have spoken once, but I cannot answer. Twice, but I will say no more. Then the Lord answered Job from the whirlwind, Get ready for a difficult task like a man. I will question you, and you will inform me. Would you indeed annul my justice? Would you declare me guilty so that you might be right? Do you have an arm as powerful as God's? And can you thunder with a voice like his? Adorn yourself then with majesty and excellency, and clothe yourself with glory and honor. Scatter abroad the abundance of your anger. Look at every proud man and bring him low. Look at every proud man and abase him. Crush the wicked on the spot, hide them in the dust together, imprison them in the grave. Then I myself will acknowledge to you that your own right hand can save you. Look now at Behemoth, which I made as I made you. It eats grass like the ox. Look at its strength and its loins, and its power in the muscles of its belly. It makes its tail stiff like a cedar. The sinews of its thighs are tightly wound. Its bones are tubes of bronze. Its limbs are like bars of iron. It ranks first among the works of God. The one who made it has furnished it with a sword. For the hills bring its food, where all the wild animals play. Under the lotus trees it lies, in the secrecy of the reeds and the marsh. The lotus trees conceal it in their shadow. The poplars by the stream conceal it. If the river rages, it is not disturbed. It is secure through the Jordan. Though the Jordan should surge up to its mouth, can anyone catch it by its eyes or pierce its nose with a snare? Wow. All right. Job replies to God saying that he is unworthy. God continues and talks about the behemoth. Nice. All right, let's go to chapter 41. This is our last chapter of the morning. No. Oh, I'm kind of sad that this is our last chapter of the morning. I was hoping there'd be a little bit more, because there's just one more chapter, but that's okay. This is the last one. It does say Leviathan here, by the way, so it could just be that Rahab is just a different thing altogether. Something worth looking into. It's something curious. But anyways, let's read it. Here we go. Chapter 41, last chapter of the morning that we're reading today. So, yeah. Can you pull in Leviathan with a hook and tie down its tongue with a rope? Can you put a cord through its nose or pierce its jaw with a hook? Will it make numerous supplications to you? Will it speak to you with tender words? Will it make a pact with you so you could take it as your slave for life? Can you play with it like a bird or tie it on a leash for your for your girls? Will partners bargain for it? Will they divide it up among the merchants? Can you fill its hide with harpoons or its head with fishing spears? If you lay your hand on it, you will remember the fight. Do not do it again. See, his expectation is wrong. He is laid low, even at the sight of it. It is not fierce when it is it not fierce when it is awakened? Who is he, then, who can stand before it? Who has confronted me that I should repay? Everything under heaven belongs to me. I will not keep silent about its limbs, and the extent of its might, and the grace of its arrangement. Who can uncover its outer covering? Who can penetrate to the inside of its armor? Who can open the doors of its mouth? Its teeth all around are fearsome. Its back has rows of shields. Shut up closely together with a seal, each one so close to the next that no air can come between them. They lock tightly together, one to the next. They cling together and cannot be separated. Its snorting throws out flashes of light. Its eyes are like the red glow of dawn. Out of its mouth go flames. Sparks of fire shoot forth, smoke streams from its nostrils, as from a boiling pot over burning rushes. Its breath sets coals ablaze, and a flame shoots from its mouth. Strength lodges in its neck, and despair runs before it. The folds of its flesh are tightly joined. They are firm on it, immovable. Its heart is hard as rock, hard as a lower millstone. When it rises up, the mighty are terrified. At its thrashing about, they withdraw. Whoever strikes it with a sword will have no effect, nor will the spear, arrow, or dart. It regards iron as straw, and bronze as rotten wood. Arrows do not make it flee. Slingstones become like chaff to it. A club is counted as a piece of straw. It laughs at the rattling of the lance. Its underparts are the sharp points of potsherds. It leaves its mark in the mud like a threshing sledge. It makes the deep boil like a cauldron and stirs up the sea like a pot of ointment. It leaves a glistening wake behind it. One would think the deep had a head of white hair. The likes of it is not on earth, a creature without fear. It looks on every haughty being. It is king over all that are proud. Whew. Wow. So that is it for our reading today. That's that's day 44. I really want to read the next chapter now. I want to read Job 32 or 42 rather, sorry. But that'll be for tomorrow. So come back tomorrow and we will finish Job. We will read Job 42 together. The last chapter of Job is going to be our starting point tomorrow. This book is intense. There is so much going on in this book, and we've talked about it, but like there's so much more that we've been seeing just in these last few chapters as God is just bringing down all this information on Job, and it is so humbling to read. And I can't imagine just how humbling that must have felt for Job, recognizing just the immense greatness of God and like the insane intricacies of existence, of this physical world, of the universe. Like, it is amazing I love these chapters because they helped me to just get in a place of just raw and pure amazement at God's power, God's sovereignty, how God like orchestrates and works with creativity and beauty and wisdom and guidance over all the things that he's created. It is so good to reflect on these kinds of things. And I'm so glad that we get to do this morning. And I hope that that stays with us throughout the day today. So let's pray. And then we will have the rest of our day to continue living for God and worshiping him in what we do. And hopefully we keep reflecting on this throughout the day. Hopefully we'll keep reflecting on his greatness, on his might, on his power, on his authority over all creation, on his creativity, on his intention, on his love, and his detailed ways of creating everything. So let's pray. Lord God, thank you so much for this day. Thank you for this precious morning that we've had to look at your word. Thank you for your responses to Job that we get to read about, that we get to marvel at you reading these things, marvel at your power, your great power, Lord. You are so powerful, so mighty beyond what our minds can even begin to wrap our minds around. Lord, you are so great, and your authority is matchless. Lord, I thank you that you are the God who created all things, that you are the God who is over all things, and that you in your great power, in your great might, are still caring for us. You are still loving towards us. And you, with all your holiness, your righteousness, your greatness, your perfection, and your untouchable power, you invite us to come before you. And I thank you for that, Lord. I thank you for this invitation that we have to come before you, to speak to you, to pray to you, to draw near to your throne of grace. And I thank you that it is a throne of grace, because if it weren't for grace, then we would not be able to even begin to approach you. So I thank you for how your grace is so lavishly poured out on us, and your love is so immensely extended to us, in that you didn't just leave us to perish as your enemies, but you made a way for us to be your children, to be your friends, that we would commune with you, that we would know you and worship you and bring you the praises that you are due. Lord, may we do that today. May we worship you. May we praise you throughout the day, God. Please, Lord, be pleased with our lives, that our lives would be lived in surrender to you, in submission to you, and your guidance, God. I pray in your mighty name, Yeshua. Amen. Guys, have a wonderful day. I hope that as you're listening, thank you for praying with me. Thank you for spending time in God's Word with me this morning. I really, really appreciate this time, and I have thoroughly enjoyed this reading. This has been a really great morning, a really great reading, and I am looking forward to finishing Job with you when I see you tomorrow. Take care. See you tomorrow. That's when we'll finish Job. It'll be awesome. It'll be great. And yeah, take care. See you then. God bless you.